This episode of the OT podcast is kindly brought to you in partnership with Alcon. Alcon's water innovation contact lenses end the compromise between comfort and breathability, helping you to optimize chair time and looks to retain 1.2 times more patience versus average spherical lenses. Contact your Alcon representative for more information and to order a trial today. Please refer to the instructions for use for complete safety and usage information. You can find references in the show notes.
It can't always be Byki, and it can also never be Byki. Like, that's how I kind of think about it. So I feel like I learned from everything. And don't get me wrong, I applied for a lot of things that I didn't get. It just looks like I got a lot of things, but that is because I apply for a lot of stuff.
Welcome to the OT podcast, which takes a deep dive into the topics affecting optometry today. Each time we'll find a real expert in their field and attempt to pull everything we can out of their brain so it may reside in yours. This is the 17th episode in the series, and we are recording on the 29th of April 2025. You can listen to the other episodes on the OT website, on Apple or Spotify, or from your usual podcast provider. In our 17th episode, we'll be speaking to Dr Byki Huntjens. My name's Kerry Smith-James. I'm the Clinical Multimedia Editor for Optometry Today, and with me as always,
Ian Beasley, Head of Education for the AOP, Clinical Editor of Optometry Today, and a visiting lecturer at Aston University.
Today's podcast is a little different because we're all part of the education team working across the AOP and OT. And for the first time, we're recording together live in the same room at the AOP offices in Woodbridge Street, Clerkenwell, London.
So, Kerry, before we introduce our guest, just want to talk for a moment about CPD that we've got currently live on the OT website. And although we shouldn't have favourites when it comes to CPD, I really like the piece by Henry Leonard at the moment, which is Clinical, Ethical and Regulatory Scenarios Involving Children. There's some really important scenarios that Henry covers in that piece that I think a lot of people will find interesting. Outside of that, I also want to do a mini plug for a new event that we'll be launching in the middle of July. The event is Practice Team Day. That will be on Sunday, the 21st of September. That's online, and it's free to join, not just for our members, but for the whole practice team. We'll be providing CPD for optometrists and DOs. So it's a good opportunity for people to share their experiences as a practice team at that event.
While we're on Practice Team, we also have Practice Team training videos as well. And that's something that any member of the Practice Team can create an account, log on and watch. And we'll be adding to that library very shortly as well.
So it's a pleasure to welcome our guest. Byki is an optometrist from the Netherlands who obtained her MSc and PhD at the University of Manchester. She's an independent education and research consultant in contact lenses and dry eye, and also educational lead for the AOP, and an honorary senior research fellow at City St George's. Byki has recently been appointed as president of the British Contact Lens Association. So Byki, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I think it's always nice with our podcast if we start somewhere near the beginning. You started your optometry career in your homeland, in the Netherlands. What led you to study optometry?
I think it was a little bit of a coincidence I ended up in optometry. I was desperate to find my passion. I was also desperate to leave the village. So I was looking for, studying in a new city. And I don't know, I think it was actually a careers book in the library at the high school that I was attending in the south of the Netherlands. And I just literally opened it up and I ended on the O of optician. And so I thought, okay, got nothing to lose. So I went to the local opticians in our village, Isabel Optiek. I still remember walking in. I was so intrigued by the frames, the colorful frames for children. I thought this has real potential. She showed me the autorefractor and the non-contact tonometer, and I was really intrigued. Initially I thought I wanted to go into designing frames because I really like the idea of design. But I went to the open day at the Hogeschool in Utrecht, which is a 2.5 hour train ride away from home, so far enough. And I was sold in the open day. And and actually that I always remembered that too, particularly when I ran later open days at the university. I really remember how important it is to make an impact and to show how exciting the profession or career in optometry can be.
Yeah, I still remember mine. I went to Cardiff, I went to Manchester. I was sold at Manchester, but Cardiff was great as well. It was just too close to home, as you say, getting away from where you know and having an adventure.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, for me in the Netherlands, Utrecht was the only place where I could study. I mean, you could study to become a DO, but with the type of high school education I got, I was able to go to optometry and orthoptist. Actually, I think originally I started both at the same time, but then I quickly, after a year or so, I dropped off the orthoptist because it was too much learning for Byki.
How does the scope of practice compare in the Netherlands to the UK at that time and now?
At the time, it was very similar because my degree was in English in the Netherlands, was ran by Canadian optometrists, and it was kind of like matched to the Canadian optometry degree. So it was, we would dilate everyone, we do gonioscopy on everyone, binocular headset, lacrimation. It was a very, very hands-on, very clinical degree. Very difficult to do it in English, but that did help me a lot when I came to the UK to get registered with the General Optical Council. So I was very lucky in that respect. In fact, actually, when I then went into practice here, I realized, there's quite a few clinical examinations we don't do here. Here it's more traditional, I feel. We hold on very much to the traditional way of eye care. I think that's also part of the culture. But, over time, you can see when you start adding newer examinations in, like OCT, myopia management, all that kind of stuff, there is very little space in the degree because we're not really taking anything out. So I feel that is the difference between the two. However, if I now speak to my Dutch friends from university, I do think that the degree the profession in the Netherlands has changed a little bit. In the Netherlands has got back. So it's almost like a two-tier type optom. You have the refractionists and you have those that go beyond. We don't have IP in the Netherlands. However, there are quite a few optometrists that can work in a hospital together with an ophthalmologist, and they will allow them to do a lot of work similar to IP here, but they don't have that degree or that certification necessarily.
So they can do it but under supervision, yes, under the auspices of...
Yes, exactly, but not in clinical practice like the high street.
Right. Interesting. Why did you choose Manchester in particular? What drew you there?
Also a coincidence. I applied for a master's in Australia, and that was all fantastic. And approximately 2 years after I graduated in the Netherlands, because during my degree I went to Houston in the US to visit, and I loved it. I really thought like that type of practice, I really wanted to do that. But I applied for a master's in Australia. I think it was more based on the fact that it was even further away from home. No, but it's also a different experience. But my visa didn't come through. And I ended up, I had to make a decision, like, what am I going to do now? I already had given up my job. I was already, in my mind, I had already moved country. So I was very lost at that point. But then a friend of mine who was at the University of Manchester doing a master's, she messaged me and she said, like, why don't you just try here? And initially I was thinking, no, I'm not going to go from a sunny Melbourne to a concrete Manchester. That's what it was in my mind. But I did go, reluctantly, but I went. Thank God I got accepted on the master's course. I thought it was fantastic. I think it was the first, I arrived, it was a glorious summer, and I thought, what was I thinking? Manchester being all grey and rainy. Not at all, but yeah.
You don't go for the weather, basically.
No, I figured out that really quickly after that was just also a coincidence that summer, it was a beautiful, gorgeous summer, and I had a great time. But yeah, so I stayed initially for the master's, and then soon realized I really like the environment. You see, It's really interesting because I don't see myself as an academic at all. But I really enjoy the environment of academia, where you can talk to people and have your own opinion, but it's very lateral. You can very much like find out new areas of interest, and if people are interested to kind of like teach you about it, then I love it. So it's great for someone who is, you know, just keen to talk to people, and so I really enjoyed that particular. I went also into practice like on Saturdays, you know, as a student.
And did you enjoy practice as well?
Yeah, as a locum, I struggled a little bit. I felt, you know, you want to do a good job. I was only really used to being a resident optometrist before that. So every day or every week you would arrive to a new practice, and you have to get used to the visual field machine again, and and I was thinking I want to do GAT, but I can't, and so now or whatever you decide. It's anxiety inducing for me.
I find that too. It's a real specialist skill, locuming. It's
Yes.
sort of rolling with the punches, adapting really quickly and just taking on new things. And I like the fact that in my consulting room now I can reach for the light switch without even thinking about it. I know where everything is, and I'm concentrating on what I'm doing, not the instrument I'm trying to look for next.
Right.
And
Right.
it sort of gets you in that comfort zone of the routine, I think.
Yes, and I'm very much, you know, using slit lamp and Volk, and then if the slit lamp doesn't have a light bulb in it, you're kind of like, I was really, I struggled. But I did find a place to go regularly, and so that was great. So it's the same as what you say, you have that kind of like routine. But yeah, I just really liked just exploring and seeing patients for research purposes. So that's why I just hung around.
So you stayed for the masters and then that went straight into PhD?
No, I became a research assistant while we were waiting for funding for the PhD. A lot of people don't actually realize what the process is for getting a PhD or to apply for a PhD, how that actually, you know, who is paying for that? You know, you don't even get paid that much, but there is a huge amount of money that is invested in the learnings of achieving a PhD.
So who does pay for it?
Well, it depends. Either the university has money, a researcher, whether or not it's a lecturer or a research fellow, applies for funding within the university. And the university really sees that this might have a great research impact. And then they give you that money, or give the money to the researcher. And then the researcher will start looking for a PhD student. So you have to apply for it. So it's like a job. Or industry or a research council provides the money. So, and that application for a grant, that takes a long time. And then by the time you finally get the money, then you need to find a PhD student, and then you need to train them to work independently. So there's a lot going on. But I was very lucky that by the time I finished my master's, a lecturer at the University of Manchester, Professor Claire O'Donnell, she had already something in mind and asked me if I was interested. So she had already someone in mind as well, in case the money did come through. And it came through. It was industry funded.
And what was it?
I was working with a company who wanted to develop a non-invasive monitor for glucose in the aqueous humor. And that would be for diabetic patients. So instead of doing a finger prick test, which is quite invasive and painful, really. Of course, after so many times, not anymore, but it's harder and harder to get blood out of the fingertips. And compliance is quite low in diabetic patients in general. So they were trying to create an instrument that could measure glucose in the aqueous humor non-invasively by kind of holding a mobile phone type related instrument in front of your eye, and then it would measure somehow.
So is that the bit you've got to work out?
Exactly. Well, the idea was there. It has a lot to do with the refractive index of the aqueous humor, and then how long for light to go through it, right? So it bounces, you get a peak of light at the endothelium, and then again at the lens, and then obviously the anterior surface of the lens. So that would be shorter if you have more glucose in the aqueous humor, because light, the time it takes for the light to get there is short.
So it's a higher refractive index if it's got...
refractive
Yeah,
index,
okay.
yes.
It's such a small amount though, isn't it?
Yes, it's huge. I mean, this sensitivity of that instrument should be huge. And we're still not there. The company is still kind of actually going, but they've also got other applications with that same idea.
Within optometry.
Within optometry, right. So axial length, for example, or other applications. So yeah, but it was very interesting, but it was hard for me because because there was a patent involved in it, I can't really speak at conferences about that, right? So it was quite limited for me to speak to others about this and to, so it was, but at the same time, it was incredibly interesting. I mean, I don't know how I managed to get NHS ethics for the final study, which was infusing glucose into the bloodstream of diabetic patients who were in a bed and then measuring constantly axial length, corneal thickness, refractive error, God knows what, and then give them insulin to make them all the way come down to go so hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia, and then see what the differences were. And, I mean, it was extraordinary. It took a year just to get ethics for that.
I can't imagine it. It was so hard to get NHS ethics to put a contact lens in a child's eye. They said, "You're going to use eye drops?" Yes, we use eye drops in optometry. Yeah, 7 months it took.
Yes.
Just to convince NHS ethics that it was okay to use a cycloplegic.
Yeah, was there an ophthalmologist involved in because that probably helped mine. No. There was obviously an ophthalmologist and someone who kind of sees diabetic patients in general care. There were nurses involved. There was a whole team plus me. But it was really difficult. I remember walking into that room where there was this interview panel, and they had loads of questions. I mean, thank God my supervisor was there too, but it was very nerve-wracking. But you have to do these things.
It's all part of the process.
It is. It's very exciting.
And then after the PhD, where did you go from there then? So you ended up in London after that?
Yes, I did end up in London, but that was more because at that point I had met my better half, and he got a postdoc at Imperial College, so he had already moved down to London. I stayed a bit longer in Manchester to finish my PhD, and then I also came to London. But yeah, that was, as a girl from a small town in the Netherlands, that was a scary move. I didn't really think that was going to be my move, but my other half, he's from a much bigger city than London, so for him it felt like, this is fine, it's going to be okay. Of course, there's opportunities here, but I did come down south, and then I went back into practice. I worked in an independent practice for a while, but very quickly, City University had a contact lens educator called Judith Morris, who I know. Well, I didn't know her personally, but I read her book.
Of course, we all know the name, don't we?
Yeah, that's how we studied contact lenses. So she contacted me to ask if I was interested in helping out in the contact lens clinic. And that's how I started as a visiting clinician at City University, 1 day a week, and then the other 4 or 5 days in clinical practice. Really enjoyed working on the high street as a resident optometrist in an independent practice. It was very exciting because I was very quickly allowed to expand the clinical practice that we were doing already in the practice. So the owner was really keen on just trying new pieces of equipment. We had in-house, we had an ophthalmologist twice a week. So that's really helpful, obviously. But I was very keen on dry eye related stuff. So I started a dry eye clinic and with punctal plugs. And I just had to present it to him as a business proposal. Like, what would it do to the practice? But after a couple of months working there, I realized there's a lot that we can do on dry eye at the time. And so I expanded that. We did macular pigment. That actually later then drove me to do some research at City University in macular pigment. It's kind of all related, but very lateral again. Like, I like all aspects of optometry. I find it really difficult to choose. There are some bits that I never really gravitated to.
Binocular vision.
Right. Yes, true. But even in my research, I did, aqueous humor, back of the eye, front of the eye, middle of the eye, again to the front of the eye. Like I went all over the place, which for me is maybe not the best for the focus of a researcher, but I just get so excited about it all. So I went to clinical practice and I really enjoyed it. But then a lectureship became available at City University, and I wasn't really convinced I was the right person for it, if I'm honest. Funnily enough, I was enjoying clinical practice. I was kind of like thinking, this is okay for a couple of years. I can see potential to grow with the practice. But I did apply because, why not? And then I got the job.
But what made you think that you weren't the right person?
Well, first of all, because it was for a lectureship in binocular vision.
Oh.
Makes sense now.
And the reason why I share that is because now I'm a bit older and maybe I make different decisions now, or my decision-making process is different to when I was younger. But I was really hesitant in applying to that job. And it was my other half who told me like, but you don't know what they're really looking for. And I didn't really understand what he meant. I thought he meant you never know who you're up against, which is also true. You never know who will apply. And it could be that me, with the least experience in binocular vision, would still be interviewed. I thought I might not even get to that stage. The other thing the reason why I didn't want to apply is because it was full-time, and I actually thought, I would like a part-time. I do part-time then, But anyway, but what he actually meant with that comment was that he understood probably the process within academia a bit better, as in, because he's very academic too. Maybe, he said like, by the time the advert goes out, things might have already changed internally, so you never know. So that's why I applied, because I thought, maybe I'm just going to sell clinical skills. That's what I did. I only spoke about clinical skills, didn't say a word about binocular vision. And then I got the job as a clinical skills lecturer.
So it became more than binocular vision, did it? Or...
No, binocular vision was completely taken out. They've already had, internally, they probably had already someone in mind, which was true. Dear colleague of mine, and she was going to take on that. She was a postdoc at the time, and she was going to do that. And I took on clinical skills. Yeah. So binocular vision never. I mean, I did do labs in binocular vision,
but you kind of dodged a bullet.
Yeah, I didn't lead that part of the department at all. Don't think I should have.
And then you seemed to get drawn towards dry eye and contact lenses, or did it find you rather than you find it?
Yeah, I think both. I think I was a lecturer in clinical skills, and I realized Judith Morris was running the whole contact lens department on her own, on 2 or 3 days a week. I was very keen on helping her, and that led into leading also the contact lens modules. And then, and I did. I mean, to be honest, I taught visual perception, clinical skills in first, second, and third year, clinics, anything clinical. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Contact lenses was part of that. But there was always a lot of passion for contact lenses. It's quite focused. I quite like it. You can go really deep. But it's quite focused, which is weird because I quite like the whole lateral thing. But the contact lenses, because there's multifocal and there's toric and there's sphere and there's soft and there's rigid and ortho-K and scleral. Like there's so much out there. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really a really nice niche area. Dry eye just came with it because at some point you have a lot of contact lens dropout and you realize actually the ocular surface is not able to maintain comfortable wearing time. So that then became part of research interest as well, and then also leading to starting a dry eye clinic.
And did you enjoy the teaching more or the academics, the research?
Yeah,
just
all
the mix.
The mix is the bit that I like the most, definitely. I love teaching, to be honest. Clinics or labs or even in the lecture room, to be honest. I love just finding new ideas to make it interesting. But that causes a lot of energy because I was constantly rewriting my lectures and trying new ways of inserting technology and getting, thinking about engagement and attention span. And there's a lot of research in education too, like how to educate. And I was always up for, yeah, let's try this or try that. And I do think that that's how the students also saw me. I mean, they might not have been interested in contact lenses, but they for sure knew that they had an enthusiastic educator there who was trying to drag them, over the line. Yeah.
Amazing. You also, part of your dry eye expertise, you ended up involved in the TFOS lifestyle report.
Yeah.
So just explain what TFOS is and what that's all about, please.
Yeah, the tear film and ocular surface is a group of mostly academic or people who do research in dry eyes that are trying to maybe provide a narrative review of all the information that is out there on dry eye. And we know TFOS mostly for the JUICE 1 and 2 reports, which are the dry eye workshops. And they give us a little bit of, like a protocol somehow. Particularly if you're unsure about how to start, I would definitely have a look at the JUICE 2 report, which has a beautiful overview of what kind of homeostasis markers you should look for, what kind of tests you can do, and then how can you diagnose and classify dry eye in clinical practice. And that's then based on the clinical research out there. It's not a systematic review as such. It's almost like we search for interesting papers that can give us a bit of a guide.
And just make it accessible.
Yeah. And the JUICE 3 is coming out soon. Maybe by the time this comes out, it's already out. So I'm really looking forward to see. But so the JUICE is particularly related to the dry eye in clinical practice. The lifestyle reports were very much based on, because we realized that it's not just the disease, right? It's really the patient habits around it, how do they, in which kind of environment do they work or do they live, whether or not it's in the countryside or in the city, is there pollution or not, what is the effect of the medications on all of that. There's too much to cover just within the dry eye workshops that the lifestyle was about. So there was a call out, I think it was, I can't remember where I saw it, but I applied and I said, listen, I have a great interest and I've done some research in dry eye, and I just saw it as an opportunity for me to work with these great researchers. And I got picked and I was super happy. I learned a lot. It was really, really nice. And then you get together with the lead author and everybody who is on that author group, and it's probably about between the 10 and 15 people. And they're from all different countries. And they all have their own kind of like expertise. So you draft kind of like an outline of a paper. What do we want to cover? In my case, we were talking about digital eye strain. So we had to come up with what is the definition, what's the prevalence, what do we see? So, and then you draft an outline, and then within the group you put your name forward, or you've been asked to lead on a certain section. You write that section and you try to do that in the most systematic way as possible. Like when, you want to make sure that you cover or summarize as much research that is out there as possible. And you tend to write it with 2 people, and then you submit that, and then there are harmonizers that kind of like see all these sections or put them all together and then try to make it into a story. Then it comes back to you and to the whole author group, and you try to, give feedback on it. And so that's kind of, and thinking about the images that go with it and the tables. And so there's a lot of work, but it's great. It's great to work with a new person. I've done the same for the BCLA Clear report, made great friends, we're still in contact very regularly. We worked really well together, so it's lovely.
Alcon's water innovation contact lenses end the compromise between comfort and breathability, helping you to optimize chair time and looks to retain 1.2 times more patients versus average spherical lenses. Contact your Alcon representative for more information and to order a trial today. Please refer to the instructions for use for complete safety and usage information. You can find references in the show notes.
We'll come back to BCLA in a while, but you don't seem to be shy about taking opportunities as well, because IACL is another...
Yeah, IACL is the International Association of Contact Lens Educators. I think I got actually involved with that also through Judith Morris. She was a director of IACL, but there is another group for contact lens educators just in the UK and Ireland. And so she invited me first to that group because every university has a representative or two representatives that teach contact lenses. So it was Judith Morris and at some point it was me. So we went together. And then from there, I realized, oh yeah, there's also a bigger group, more international. And if people ask me to do so, I'm quite a doer. So I just do stuff. And I think it's interesting. And particularly because I'm not from the UK and you don't realize how good we've got it in the UK, education-wise. But because also in the Netherlands and because I also travel to other countries, I realize it's not as well organized everywhere else. And I really like to help, particularly when it comes to, countries in the Far East or in Africa. They don't have access to trial lenses. It's hard for those that are studying optometry to actually learn anything about contact lenses. When we're just talking soft, we're not even talking ortho-K or sclerals or anything like that, right? Just eye care in general, accessibility of eye care globally. It's not equal. Well, we all know that, but actually if you hear the numbers or you're aware of that, then yeah, I'd like to do something back.
Where does IACL fit into that picture then? What's the remit of IACL?
Yeah, so we provide resources for educators. So if you are a contact lens educator at a school or a university in any country, if you become a member of IACL, you have access to all the lectures. There's lectures written about everything and it's all there and you can just take it and amend it. You can use an image library. There is an online platform that you can allow your students to do an exam or their flashcards. There's a lot of resources for students and for us, for educators. And as educators, you can become a fellow, so you have to study and then do an exam. It's now annual. Before it was every 2 years. And so that's how you become a fellow of IACL. And so I kind of just started getting involved with that, initially just for images. I was really stuck for images, like that I could use copyrighted images, particularly on rigids. It's difficult to find rigid contact lenses. I mean, I had obviously some ideas in the, people that I could contact in the Netherlands, but, because we do a lot of rigid contact lenses there, but yeah, so that's my first thought. And also when you talk about microbial keratitis, I just wanted a good image that I could use from, copyrighted. And that's how I got involved with IACL. And then before you know it, I just, again, I saw an opportunity maybe, I have to say I got asked to apply and I thought, well, if somebody asked me to apply, then clearly they see something in me. I always doubt, don't get me, I always doubt. I always think, I don't think I might be the right. I always talk myself out of it initially, but I am not afraid to fail. So I don't mind if I don't get it. In fact, I would always think of applying and saying, well, that was half an hour of my life that I put the application together or whatever, how long it took. But that's it. In a lifelong, it means nothing, half an hour, right? In your career. So you just do it. And I don't mind if someone else got it because then they were better placed to do it. And it can't always be Byki. And it can also never be Byki. That's how I kind of think about it. So I feel like I learned from everything. And don't get me wrong, I applied for a lot of things that I didn't get. It just looks like I got a lot of things, but that is because I apply for a lot of stuff. Sure. So, but you only tend to celebrate, particularly on social media, or you celebrate the successes, don't you? Yeah, you don't
advertise it. No. I applied for this job that I didn't get.
Yeah, exactly. I should do that more often because I don't care actually. I should look back at all the things that I've done and maybe start sharing that a bit more. Because it's all about encouraging people to just go for it. You've got nothing to lose. Exactly. It's such a nice community, optometry as well.
Mm. And what if they pick you?
Yeah, exactly. Then you have to do it though. Yeah, don't sit back. Yeah. You do have to come up with an idea before you apply. That's another tip I would give. Really think about the one thing that you can give, that you think okay, I can, for example, now I have a great network. I'll sell the network. I can give, I can get us in touch with, that's how I got it's all volunteering, by the way. Everything I do is volunteering. Well, except working here, obviously. You guys.
You're not being paid.
But but the IACL, the NCC is the Dutch Contact Lens Conference, BCLA, it's all volunteering, TIFOS, Cochrane, all of this, it's volunteering. But when I got asked for the Dutch conference, that's what I said, like, yes, I can offer a network and I can offer creativity in education. Those are the two things I offer. What I cannot offer is administrative time. So I'm much more strategic now in, okay, I'm happy to help, but this is what I can give you. So if you're looking for something else, then maybe, find someone who can fill that gap. So that's another tip that I can give you. Like, think about what it is that you want to give. But in the beginning, just say yes to everything, because, that otherwise, if you put too many restrictions up from day one, then, maybe they're going to look for someone else.
So, Byki, you've been with us at the AOP a year now.
Yes.
Which is, we're fortunate to have you.
Oh, thanks.
How's it been for you?
Yeah, it's been really, really good. I mean, again, sorry to say, Ian, but it's just a coincidence to me that I end up here at the AOP.
It's just serendipity, isn't it, really?
I remember you approached me at 100% Optical last year. By that point, I had just left academia, wasn't really looking for anything. I just wanted to be a free bird for as long as I could.
Ruined it.
But I have to say, these kind of conversations is the whole reason why I love going to conferences. Not just the conversations for opportunities, but the conversations about what's out there, what's happening. Even if I had not applied for the job, which I did a couple of weeks after our conversation, even if I hadn't applied for the job, I would have contacted you with some suggestions of people I didn't, because I didn't want to kind of increase the competition. Maybe. But no, I wasn't really thinking about it. But I remember when you followed it up, I told you, yes, I will apply. So but if I had told you by that point, no, I won't apply. I want to just do my own thing for a little bit. I needed some clarity after my job in academia, and COVID. Really, that was the main thing. I did apply. Didn't really know what was going to happen, because when you work in academia, although I'm very much aware of the AOP and all the other associations in the UK and what they offer, I offer it to students who are at the beginning of their career, and the AOP is offering it to the already existing practicing optometrists and CLOs and DOs. So it's not the same field, right? It's not, but I did think that I could offer, some creativity, some, and some admin as well, because, it's not volunteering.
You should have been clearer about that.
Yeah, exactly. But I think all the conversations I have at these events, including 100% Optical, are crucial for where my career is going and will be going. So I can always recommend people to just attend events for this kind of opportunity.
And do you have a sense of where your career might go next, or you're just happy with what you're doing? So you're doing 2 days for AOP.
Yes.
How does the rest of your week look?
The rest of the week I'm working as a consultant mainly. I call myself now a science communicator. I'm laughing because the conviction is missing a little bit still. But what I'm trying to do is to use evidence-based practice for practicing eye care professionals, to kind of link between the science and the patient. There's such a gap between what the research does and say versus how we convey that message to patients. Mm-hmm. And I like that kind of translation. It's almost like a different language. And because I can do both, I can be an optometrist and I can be a researcher, I think I understand it So that's what I'm trying to do. So I work a lot with companies, particularly in contact lenses and dry eye, but there's also other opportunities that happen, like training how to do presentations and training how to, well, there's loads of stuff that happens. So I do all sorts of different things, and a lot of volunteering, as I already mentioned.
So can we come on to the work you do at the BCLA? Well, I say work, volunteering you do at the BCLA.
Yes.
and we're recording this at the end of April, but of course when this podcast goes live, you will be the president of the BCLA. The conference will have happened already in June. So what is the BCLA? For those who aren't members, why should they join, and what do you do, and what does the president do?
Yes, okay, that's a lot of questions. The first thing, the BCLA, the British Contact Lens Association, is a membership association, and what we're trying to do is to provide educational resources for anyone who practices globally in contact lenses, right? And contact lenses, obviously, we already heard there are so many different types of contact lenses. Ocular surface health is kind of related to that too. So we see more and more resources in dry eye, for example, as well. The vision is to bring the global contact lens and anterior eye health community together. That's the focus of the BCLA. And of course, it's a British institution, but as I said, it's global. So if you are practicing contact lenses, fitting contact lenses, assessing contact lenses, if you're thinking of going into that direction and you want to have, access to certificates that teach you about myopia management or dry eye or presbyopia, or, there's a new one coming soon, that's all available to members for free. And obviously we run every 2 years a clinical conference, which is a global conference in the UK. And then the alternate year, we tend to have a local conference. So last year we partnered together with the College of Optometrists. And simultaneously there's also a BCLA Asia, because obviously also in Asia, the drive for myopia management is huge. And so very often that is a focus of their conference. And then the BCLA partners with a conference in Asia. Yeah, I mean, the community is smaller, obviously, than the optometry community or the eye care practitioners in general, because it's a focused bit, right? Contact lenses is always, I feel, been seen a little bit like the appendix of the optometry course, right? A little bit like BV and contact lenses. They both were sitting a little bit in the periphery, so to speak. But it's a very nice community. You have some incredible presenters and researchers, particularly from the States and Australia and Singapore, that really drive, and it's so easy to talk to them. So it's such a nice community. I think it's fantastic. But I was introduced to the BCLA during my master's was it my master's? Maybe it was my PhD actually. And someone really needs to take you to a community, isn't it? It's not easy to just go by yourself. So I do think it is important that we think more about the mentorship. And if you are already in clinical practice and you are a BCLA member, it would be so good to kind of like get someone else from your practice who's just new and earlier in their career, and then take them along. That's not just for the BCLA, that's for any kind of event, even 100% optical. It's important, and the College of Optometrists, like all these events, right? It's important that you kind of like almost have a mentor or somebody who inspires you to go, and then you will become part of that community, and then it kind of, it rolls on from there. And that's kind of how it happened with me too. I go initially just to have a look, and then the year after my supervisor pushed me to submit a poster, and then the year after I went again 2 years after I went again because I knew a friend of mine was going, because by that point you make friends, and then before you know it, like
you're president.
Yeah, and then before you know you're president. Yes, exactly.
So what does that mean? What's in your presidency? Or are you still getting your head around what that even means?
No, I think if I'm honest with you, so the BCLA is run by the council. And council is around 10, 12 people that are voted by the membership that come up with, the whole strategic plan for the BCLA. This includes membership, education, everything. And I've been on council for 6 years. And once you're on council, then you can put yourself forward to be the face of the BCLA council, which is the president. My vote doesn't count more. I'm still part of council. Together we decide, and we have a CEO and we have a chair. And so, that's kind of how it runs. And the president is more the face of. So it's a year only. I think by the time I start, I already have to think about handing over the baton to someone else, right? I mean, it's very short-lived, actually. At the same time, it's a lot of work because there's a lot of meetings, there's a lot of, events and things that you have to consider. And obviously my tasks within the BCLA, which is running the certificates, not only creating them, but also making sure that we run all these workshops with everything related to certificates. I'm chairing that subcommittee. And then I'm in the executive committee and in council. So there's a lot going on. But I think as a president, I don't have more to do. Although I am thinking of being a little bit more accessible to members. Don't know yet how that works, considering we're global. But I do want to really make that connection with the members and see where they think the BCLA should be going. We're going through a reform at the moment with membership. And I'm really keen in increasing partnership with the BCLA and other associations because a lot of us are doing something similar but local, and maybe the BCLA can really help making that a global reach. So partnership is one, and accessibility to members is the other one. And I just want to hear what everybody wants. I think sometimes, you're in a silo, you've been doing things for quite a while, but your members have obviously changed, and maybe we need to just have another go at an understanding. Where do we see the BCLA in 10 years, right? Or 5 or 10 years? Because it's the new members that, the earlier careers that have to drive it forward, right? I can't be doing this forever. In fact, my time will be up in two years or so. Can't stay on council forever. So after the presidency, it's maybe 1 more year. And then after that, I have to leave. I do hope someone else who is listening, consider applying for council when these adverts go out. You have nothing to lose, really nothing to lose. And I will vote for you.
Yeah.
So perhaps to wrap things up, Byki, outside of optometry, you escaped from the village in the Netherlands 20 odd years ago, but travel is a big passion of yours.
I've got the time now too, because, as an academic, you travel a lot because you go to conferences. And then my other half also goes a lot to conferences. He's not an academic, but he goes more to conferences than I do. And so we try to always travel together, or I kind of tag along, or he tags along with me. And then we do big trips. So yeah, travel is definitely my passion. And since I'm not working anymore in academia, it's more so. It's almost like my suitcase is always packed. I'm ready to go. In fact, I'm going again. I just got back last night, and now I'm going again on Thursday morning.
Where to?
On Thursday, I'm going to see my parents. And I was there last week too. It's just never ends. But now they just need a little bit more time with me, and that's great. And the fact that I can do that is just wonderful. But that's really literally just to have dinner for 2 nights, and then I come back again. Yeah.
So do you pick places in the world you want to visit and then see if there's a conference, or the other way around?
No, the other way around. For now, the other way around. I'm not very good in offering my services. Like, I'm not reaching out. At the moment, I have enough interest from people reaching out to me. And then I will, you already figured that out from this podcast, but I will say yes to almost everything anyway. But normally I will then tag on a couple of days, if I can, to explore that area. And even if it's already an area or a city or whatever where I've already been, then I'll just take the train to another place that I haven't been, and then I'll spend some time there. So yeah, my life is very much like I'll do work somewhere, and then I stay a little bit longer to, enjoy the culture.
I just wanted to ask if you have any recommendations, any favourites that you've been to, or if there's always a particular conference that always lends itself to a good bit of exploration afterwards.
Well, for me, there's 2 countries that were fantastic. I'm going to let people down now from those, because of all the travel that I've done. No. The one country where I've been a lot, it was Italy. And it's amazing to travel around there, without any preparation. I just go and I book myself onto some tours or whatever. Very easy to travel around with train. And I've been all over the country last year and this year. The other place where I just came back from is Norway. I thought that was really, really nice. I have to say the weather was really good as well, so I was really lucky. But I thought that was really interesting because it's so different to optometry, right? The city in Norway it feels very small because London is so big. I mean, Norway has only got like 5 million people in total population. So you see the city itself is already quite small. So you very quickly are in nature, and there, you've got the fjords and all that. It's very different to here. For holiday, if it ever will become possible again, I want to say Jordan is my recommendation for anyone. I think now it might not be the right time, but or maybe it is, but not, for me it wouldn't be. But yeah, I would definitely recommend people to go to Jordan. That has nothing to do with optometry. Although there is an amazing optometrist at the university who I know through IACL. She will host you if you want to go and have a look how students in Jordan are being taught. Professor May Bakar, she's awesome. But anyway, very, very nice country to visit.
So Byki, thank you so much for giving up your time. It's great to have you on the team at the AOP.
Thank you. It was great chatting to you.
Yeah, so much. Yeah, it's been fascinating.
This episode of the OT podcast was kindly brought to you in partnership with Alcon. Alcon's water innovation contact lenses end the compromise between comfort and breathability, helping you to optimize chair time and looks to retain 1.2 times more patience versus average spherical lenses. Contact your Alcon representative for more information and to order a trial today. Please refer to the instructions for use for complete safety and usage information. You can find references in the show notes.